everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Geo, and today I wanted to do a video about how the LA Valiant managed to beat the Atlanta Reign in their series this just gone weekend. Of course, LA Valiant haven't been having the best season thus far, and so I thought it'd be interesting to have a look into some of the things that may have contributed to their win against Atlanta. Now, before we go into this, there are a few things to bear in mind for both teams. For example, LA Valiant, they're now working under head coach Packing 10 instead of Coach Moon, who they previously had both last season and in Stage 1. So they're under new leadership. They've also done some swap-ups with their players. So, for example, Kuki, who is a main tank but was playing on main support, is no longer in the starting lineup, and they have put Custer back into that job. So not only does that mean that we have a real main support on the main support role, but also LA Valiant shot caller is back. We also have had Kareev, who is a flex support player but had been moved over to the DPS role and was playing Zarya for a while. He's been put back on flex support, and that means that we have KSF, who is a DPS player, taking on that Zarya role. As for the Atlanta Reign, they've of course lost their biggest star player, Defran, and he has been replaced with Baby Bay, who came over from the San Francisco Shocks. Very talented DPS, but he's not necessarily so practiced in Zarya. Dako is also MIA, so we have got Fried, who is our new off-tank for the team, taking his place. Now, he is used to playing Diva, but of course the synergy between Dako and Pokpo that came from their time playing together on Element Mystic can't be replaced too quickly, so there isn't going to be that same level of synergy between those two players. All of that in mind, let's go forward and have a look. So this was quite a long series. It did go to 5 maps. So I went over the 3 maps that the LA Valiant won, which was Lijiang Tower, Junkertown, and Busan, to try and pick out and see if I could see some patterns or particular things that happened, examples that would suggest how they won. So I think one of the biggest things that Valiant were doing very well is they were so good at forcing positioning from Atlanta, and oftentimes this would include them splitting the team up and being able to take them on that way. Okay, so here we see the first example of Valiant doing this, where we're gonna see Fate laying down a bubble. There we go, and that forces a lot of Atlanta to the left of that pillar, and they're already very, very low health. And now Erster and Dogman don't have a safe way of actually disengaging like the others, so they end up getting rushed by Fate and Space and just going completely down. Alright, here we see Valiant occupying the 2 front doors, which means that Atlanta, whose damage output is nowhere near as high, are pushed towards one of the back doors for cover, or behind Pokpo's shield. Now, we see Erster move along to shield Baby Bay, but they go out a different door, and then they're vulnerable to Izuyaki's Discord Orb and KSF's High Charge Beam. It's easy then to clean up the members who lingered rather than disengaged. Atlanta are trying to set up a defense here that's typical when GOATS comps are played. Generally, the idea is that you jump down onto the payload and force the attacking team to move. However, Fate leaps into Atlanta, forcing Baby Bay to land his bubble onto Dogman. This is important, as we'll see, Baby Bay's charge doesn't get above 21 in this fight. Atlanta's attention is completely captured. Meanwhile, Valiant move up onto the team, as well as keeping control on the payload. Popo gets stunned out, allowing enough damage to be dealt onto him that he's easily taken down, followed by Masa. Just that dive was enough to force Atlanta to waste cooldowns, change their objective, and then lose the fight. Here we see Fate jumping in onto Atlanta after Pokpo has already moved forward. As well as protecting him, the bubble also gives KSF a higher charge. Pokpo is completely in the hands of Valiant now, especially after Fate lands his shield down. This is multifaceted because the attentions of Atlanta are all on Fate, but they're also forced to move around towards Valiant, not only to avoid the bubble, but also because Fate is body blocking their exit out towards their spawn, so soft resetting isn't an option. As Atlanta are distracted and split up, Valiant are able to target members and win the fight. Atlanta were pretty much always one step behind Valiant in ult economy. They were either being kind of short-sighted in their ult usage, where they would use ults that Valiant could just easily counter, or they would use too many ults where they didn't necessarily need to. Valiant were winning more dry fights than Atlanta were in general, because they were putting out more damage, and were just in general getting way more value out of their investments than Atlanta were. As Valiant start to back away, Baby Bay throws in his grab, which is just out of Space's reach, and catches Fate. Valiant respond with both their sound barrier and their own Giganti Bomb, a Graviton Surge combined with a self-destruct and a charge from the Reinhardt. Atlanta then use both the Transcendence and their sound barrier. Not only that, but they then use their Earth Shatter directly into Izuyaki's Transcendence, so the DAO members can easily escape combined with KSF's projected barrier. It just seems like a lot of Atlanta's decisions to use their ults are rushed, whereas Valiant's investments generally seem to accrue more value. It does seem to help that Valiant are in a much better position from the perspective of the Zaryas. KSF seems way more comfortable on the hero than Baby Bay, and is just in general getting way better usage of her. He's using his cooldowns better, he's getting higher damage, and he's using better gravitons. Yeah, that's a from me. In general, it was just clear that the targeting from the side of Valiant was better than that of the side of Atlanta, and this can probably be credited to Custer's return to the roster, as he always took on that shot calling role. It's obvious when you go back and look at the fights that ensued that Valiant were just cleaning them up a lot easier, whereas Atlanta weren't. Here is actually a really good example to sort of demonstrate this. In this clip, we see that Atlanta make an attempt at a dive onto KSF that involves Baby Bay hacking him and Pokepo following it up to get the elimination. However, the peel is too much and Pokepo gets overwhelmed. After this, Atlanta don't really have a plan. Damage is being dealt on various targets. Meanwhile, we see KSF and Space specifically targeting and pressuring Erster to prevent him from making any kind of offensive move. He can't pile drive, can't knock back, can't shoot anyone, so much so that he ends up having to retreat instead of contributing to the fight. This one fewer person to deal with puts Valiant in a much stronger position. So these were some of my opinions on how Valiant managed to take on Atlanta this week. I actually made 7 pages of notes on this series, but I can't put these all into a video as I am leaving for Insomnia on the 18th and I'm running on very limited time. However, do let me know what you thought of the series, what some of your thoughts about how Valiant did well were, and we can have a little bit of a discussion in the comments. And if you're interested in seeing my 7 pages of notes, I can probably type them up and put them somewhere, I guess. Let me know if you think that Valiant are going to be able to recreate these kinds of strategies against Washington, Dallas, and Seoul, who are the only teams they have left to play in this stage. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.